This video contains spoilers, but not for story elements in Tears of the Kingdom, but rather a gameplay element that was not featured in any of the marketing Nintendo did for the game. I highly recommend playing the game first to discover the depths for yourself, as this goes into my analysis of my experience with this. After a month and over 150 hours playing every waking moment when not working, and having another highly anticipated sequel in another game series that I love release, I still crave to play Tears of the Kingdom. I can't start the game unless I plan to play for at least 5 hours. I've seen videos praise it for how dense and packed the game is, keeping you engaged with it for so many hours at a time, so I'm not going to go into all that, but rather talk about my deep personal feelings I felt with this game, how those feelings evolved, and talk about the moment I knew not only did I like this game more than Breath of the Wild, but also when it became a close contender with my top 2 favorite Zelda games in the series. When I initially played Tears of the Kingdom, I had fun getting through the Sky Island, but I honestly felt like it was a little slow for me. But once I got to Hyrule, the land map that is, I was obsessed with traveling the land to see all my favorite places from Breath of the Wild and see how they change, as well as collect shrines and towers to fill out the map. At this point, this game felt on par with how I felt about Breath of the Wild, and it had the magic that Breath of the Wild had as well. One day, I had an epiphany when shooting out of another tower where I figured one thing I enjoyed so much about both this and Breath of the Wild was how seamless the paraglider mechanic was. Especially paired with the skydiving in Tears of the Kingdom, and how it felt so great to do this because it appeased one of the fears I had since childhood, this being a fear of heights. Now I live in Las Vegas, Nevada, and we have the Stratosphere Tower here. It is this massive tower that stretches high into the sky, as it is the tallest tower in the US. I've gone there multiple times in my life, but always refused to go to the very top of it, which is actually outside, out of this weird irrational fear that maybe the wind will pick up and push me off the edge. Yeah, it's dumb. But when playing Tears of the Kingdom and shooting out of the towers into the stratosphere of Hyrule, I was able to feel joy in something that I doubt I'll ever feel in real life. This was next level escapism, and I even had an idea for a video about this. I wanted to call it How Tears of the Kingdom Made Me Forget Fear. But that all changed as I played more. Through my travels, I yearned to be able to do what I did to get rupees in Breath of the Wild, which is mining, specifically using the Sensor Plus ability to help in finding ore deposits. Since you see the Puripad being used as a camera, I was certain you could get Sensor Plus with it too. So I went to Hatano Lab, only to find it referenced me back to Lookout Landing to continue one of the main quests, the one that told me to jump into one of those big intimidating chasms you see in Hyrule. Now when I saw a chasm, I assumed it would be just like one of those bottomless pits in a shrine that if you fell in, it'll just bring you back to where you were, but with one less heart. But I was wrong. So in doing that main quest, I went through my first chasm, the one in the middle of Hyrule Field, and this is what I experienced. When I first saw this, I was enthralled. I immediately paused to look at the map and noticed that this was the third map to explore. I was already enjoying the exploration of the land map and the sky map of Hyrule, just to see that there is so much more to the game. There is this new mechanic you first experience on the land map, where if you step in gloom for too long, you'll lose maximum hearts. When going into the depths, you can also lose maximum hearts just from the creatures that are attacking you. This, with the extra amount of gloom that you find in the depths, which is like a lot, actually had me hesitant to explore there at first, because I didn't understand how easy it actually was to recover your maximum hearts that were broken. I actually assumed at first that because I found Sundelions, that consuming a dish made from them was the only way to regain your maximum hearts. Then shortly after, I found that discovering a new route in the depths and lighting that up that would recover your maximum hearts as well as standing in the light from one of those routes. Then eventually, after exploring later, learning that just being outside in general will recover your maximum hearts as well. But before I learned all that, I was too scared to press on. Yes, scared. So with that, I continue my exploration on the land and sky islands with the main intention of finding shrines and completing some of the main story quests, as well as the temples to find heart containers and get more health so that I can get to a point of feeling more comfortable and confident with exploring the depths. But once I got to that point, this is when my eagerness to play for hours on end reached its highest. When it comes to exploring the depths, I say I was scared because there is an irrational childhood fear that was tapped into. That was the fear of the dark, more specifically the fear of the unknown. But that fear came with this insatiable curiosity to explore. The fear met its peak one fateful time where after I got started with exploring the depths again, I got used to a few chasms where there would always be a light at the bottom, but then I went down one where I was skydiving through it and waiting to see the light and ignoring the warning of the horns, but just being surprised with a sudden plunge into death. On a weird level, this messed with me, but also made me more cautious and curious. This game made me feel a sense of fear which was never felt in a Zelda game before. For me, a big part of the fear initially was from exploring the unknown and unseen, especially with navigating the gloom that can make exploration itself dangerous. But an interesting twist I felt the more I explored the depths was when I started to become more careful with how much I used the bright blooms, and so I would explore new parts of the depths, but I would actually be using the gloom as a light. For me, it was mind-blowing to notice this possibility, the irony of how this thing that offers some sort of unique but also greatest danger in exploring the depths could be used to aid in its exploration. Aside from that, another great reward for exploring the depths was how it rewards Zelda fans in general, as you find so many items from previous Zelda games here in different mines and other places throughout the depths. I also liked how the depths gave a feeling of nostalgia in a weird way for me, as it made me feel like I was playing a mechanic from the older Zelda games, kind of similar to that of like the Dark World in A Link to the Past, or the future timeline in Ocarina of Time. Another thing I liked on a personal level was how it felt like playing a combination of my favorite games, with the horror vibes I normally get from Resident Evil, with the sage avatar making me feel like I'm playing a necromancer in Diablo, and the underground society with the larger-than-life monsters feeling so Lovecraftian, like my most favorite hidden gem of a game, Eternal Darkness, Sanity's Requiem. That being seen even more when you first speak with the bargaining statue, and they give a speech about how they don't judge the dead on whether they are good or evil, and how doing so is a narrow-minded concept. I know this sounds crazy, but it really felt like this game was tailored to me. Now that I've fully explored the depths, I just find the personal journey through them to be more unique and deeper than most games I've ever played. And went from a feeling of fear to curiosity and determination to awe and how beautiful it all becomes when you find all the routes and light up the entire map. It's a cool endgame too, as you can fight temple bosses again and have the extra challenge of fighting gloom-infected monsters, which keeps you on your toes. I like a comparison I've heard about the depths looking like the bottom of the ocean floor, which it totally does. I also love how the routes are connected to shrines on the mainland, as it becomes a strategy you can use later to find routes that aren't seen right away by marking the depths map right under where you found a shrine on the land map. But also vice versa, where maybe there's hidden shrines that you haven't found yet, but you can find them by marking the land map right above where you found a route on the depths map. Even with all the routes found, I still have more to discover there, as I can examine it more thoroughly with the lights on. I can probably go on all day about this, but for the sake of keeping the video from running too long, I'll pass this off to you. For those who experienced Tears of the Kingdom, how did you feel when you first learned the depths were a thing? Please share your thoughts in the comments about this, or anything that you'd like to add to the conversation about Tears of the Kingdom in general. Or if there was a game that had a huge impact on you with fear or just being a great blend of your favorite games, you share that too. Thank you so much for watching. Please also like if you'd like YouTube to share this video with more people in the community, and subscribe if you'd like to see more videos. I have plans for making more on all my favorite games, but just been on more of a Zelda kick recently for obvious reasons. Thanks again, and I'll see you on the tube side.